Well, welcome in to the All Clemson Tigers Notre Dame preview show. It may not be the matchup we thought it was going to be in August. It may not have the hoopla, the rankings, but it's still a huge game in Tiger Town tomorrow. We're going to break it all down here for you live at Magnetic South Brewery in downtown Anderson, 516 North Main Street. Stop in and see us. And those of you who are here, we've got plenty of T-shirts, hats, all kinds of gear. Help yourself. It's take one, take all kind of day here on the All Clemson Tigers show. And thank you for joining us live on YouTube and throughout the globe. I'm Brad Sinkoff. This is publisher Zach Lentz of allclemsontigers.com. And we're also joined by Jason Priester, the recruiting director of allclemsontigers.com. Good afternoon, gentlemen. How are we doing today?
Hey. I'm doing just fine. How about you guys?
Doing really well. A lot to get to, guys. This has been an eventful week. I think that's being kind to say that it's been an eventful week. From Monday through now, the Tigers are going to take the field and show, maybe the heart and fire, the burning, vitriol we saw from their head coach. Maybe that carries over onto the football field on noon tomorrow afternoon, and we'll talk more about that as we go throughout the show today. So I ask you, gentlemen, first off, what did you think of Tiger calls on Monday night? Dabo Swinney, the head coach, was confronted by a fan, Tyler from Spartanburg, who got in and was not pleased with the head coach and said a lot of things, maybe some of those fair criticism, but we didn't ever get a chance to really find out exactly what Tyler wanted to say because he sort of disrespected the head coach. Dabo Swinney jumped on, cut him off, and it became a really big national story from there with Coach Swinney's comments in response. Jason, I'll start with you. What did you think of what you heard from Coach Swinney on Monday night?
I'll start out by saying I think Tyler made some excellent points. Just maybe went about the wrong way in trying to make them. I thought, he crossed a line at a certain point, and I was not surprised at Dabo Swinney's response. We kind of been waiting to see that fiery side of Dabo Swinney over the past couple of weeks, and we finally saw it Monday night. Saw a little bit more of it Tuesday when he doubled down on it in his press conference. Maybe that carries over this week like you were talking about a minute ago, because this team's kind of lacked that edge and that fieriness at times this season.
Well, there's a way to go about things. If I were to be very critical of you, Jason, I would handle it with tact, with respect, because we're colleagues, publicly at least, maybe behind closed doors, something different.
Yeah.
But there's a way to criticize. I don't think, Zach, that was the way to do it, to be disrespectful and to sort of just kind of say, hey, I got a really good point, but I think this about you and make it a personal attack. Were you surprised that Coach Swinney responded in the way that he did?
No, anyone that has, seen that and how he defends his program, shouldn't be surprised. However, I'll say this. It seems like every season Dabo looks for this, chance, either, through the media or through a caller or a fan or something that is written. He looks for this kind of, rallying, cry. And I think that this was it. I think that, Tyler, like Jason said, made some great points, valid points. But you can't just call into a show and start ripping into arguably the greatest coach in history and I expect, him to come back.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. That's the biggest point. If you're going to go after someone and personally attack them, you really can't get upset when they respond. I don't think others could either, to get upset when they respond to something like that. To push back a little bit on what you said, wouldn't 4-4 be reason enough to be fired up? Wouldn't Notre Dame be reason to be fired up? I just don't know that Coach Swinney thought in that moment that, hey, this is going to fire up my team. And we'll see if it has a response because I think there have been mixed feelings about it from the fan base.
I mean, here's the thing. Have you heard anyone this week talking about, the wide receiver play or the offensive line.
Yeah, I've heard some people talk about the offensive line a little bit.
Okay. It seems like, he took this opportunity to kind of fall on his sword, and he did.
Maybe so. We'll find that out at noon tomorrow when the Tigers take the field against the Irish. Jason, I want to ask you this, though. There are problems with this team. Clearly, there are issues. How do you identify?
That is shocking. That is the hottest take I've heard.
Hey, it's okay to be critical. You can be critical and be fair. You can be critical and be respectful. And I'm very critical of you all the time, Zach. I'm just more respectful than you are about it.
Yeah, you're nothing but...
You can't say that.
I can.
All right, fine. Jason, that was disrespectful. I think I'm going to go off on Zach. I'll let you step in here. What are some of the biggest issues you see? Coach Swinney says he knows what the problem is. What do you think the problem is?
Oh, man, for me, it just starts up front with that offensive line. It has been absolutely porous for the past 4 games. And I'm of the opinion that they didn't play too terribly bad against Duke or Charleston Southern or Florida Atlantic. I thought they played, fairly well against Florida State. But then the wheels came off, and it seems like they got progressively worse with each passing week. You got to take a long – deep, hard look into what those root issues are, and you got to get at the cause, and you got to address those, whether it's coaching or something that's a little deeper than that, or the kind of guys you're recruiting into that scheme. I mean, it could be a number of things, but to me, that's where it starts, because if you can't block up front, this offense that Garrett Riley wants to run, it's not going to execute at a high level.
Yeah, I think the offensive line has been maybe one of the bigger surprises in just terms of how it's not performed and what it's done and the effect of it. But I just think all the pieces are a little disjointed. I'm not down on Garrett Riley's offense. I think it can work. I think it will work at some point. It may not be this year. They just don't simply have maybe the pieces to pull that off in the receiving core. And, I mean, talent, guys, that's what we're talking about here. What Jason said, what I said. Zach, it's just a lack of talent that we've seen from a program. That talent's not been the issue over the last decade.
Yeah, all season we heard about the offensive line, how he felt they could go 10 or 11 deep, and it hasn't played out that way. Also, you heard the speed this team had. This was the fastest team that he has ever had. And honestly, they look slow at times. So I think, if you're looking for issues, there are plenty of offensive line, wide receiver, special teams. I mean, just go down the list. If you name a position group, you can probably find fault with it.
Well, I think, too, it goes back to penalties, to turnovers, which we're going to talk about later on. All that usually, is it take away the front of the jersey, the name on the front, and if I just gave you an outline of what Clemson has been this year, you would say that's a poorly coached team.
Yeah.
Would you not? You would say that. That's a poorly coached team. And at times they've really looked like that. I don't know how you fix it, guys. Thing is, I don't think it can be fixed in season. You're 4-4. You're trying to make a bowl game at this point. Expectations have changed. I think now you're at a stage where you just simply have to get through the rest of this season, and then you've got to make and fix some of the systematic failures and admit some of the systematic failures within this program. Do you agree, Jason?
100%. I don't think there is any quick fix, overnight fix that you can implement and put in place and turn this season around. You are what you are, and that's where we are right now. But when it comes when the end of the season gets here, I absolutely agree. He's got to take a long, hard look at some things and see, where the weak spots are, address them, and firm those things up. Whether it be coaching staff, practice habits, whatever it might be. I wouldn't think anything's off limits at this point.
I would totally agree with that. We've heard about a fiery Dabo Swinney this week. I've been told by multiple people, sources within the program, that he has been really getting after guys, both players and coaches. I don't think anybody should be surprised at all to hear that. sitting at 4-4. So I'll ask you this, Zach. What are the Tigers playing for this week? It's Notre Dame. It's a huge opponent. It maybe is part of their reputation on the line a little bit, if you could say that. What are some of the stakes for you that you're looking at heading into the Notre Dame game tomorrow at noon?
Yeah, I think first off is, pride is the name on the front of the jersey. I think the Tigers are no longer looked at as an elite program. And so for me, they are playing for the pride. And also, they are playing for, to get another game closer to being eligible for a bowl. I mean, they aren't going to the playoffs or ACC championship. We all deleted that invite this week when it came. I think that this team, needs to, have their chance to play for themselves, for their teammates, and really just show if they have any heart left.
Jason, do you think we're going to see heart from this team, not just from tomorrow, because, there should be, right? We all agree you can't lay down against Notre Dame. It's the Fighting Irish. It still matters. But beyond just tomorrow, the rest of the season, do you think we see some pride and some fire in this team down the final 4 games of the season? Do we lose Jason? I think something happened there with Jason. He can't hear anything.
I'm having a hard time hearing.
There we go. I asked, do you think that are we going to see some of that fire for the final stretch here, the last month of the season? Do you think the Tigers will show up and play hard? All right, we're having trouble getting Jason there. He's timing out now. I'm not sure, to be honest with you, and that's the first time I'll be able to say that about a Dabo Swinney team, because Zach, we're used to seeing them in championship phase, and right now that championship phase is not occurring. November's supposed to be that, and there's no championship to play for other than the state title when they take on South Carolina at a couple days after Thanksgiving. So still a lot to kind of figure out with that, and just kind of where this team is and where this program is at the end of it all. I just don't know. I think they'll get bowl eligible, but man, you're telling me to nail down the exact 2 games they're going to do it with is hard to do right now. Real quick, some updates going on with this Tiger team in terms of injuries, who will be available, who will not be. We mentioned the offensive line having some issues. Could be a couple of guys out up front again tomorrow. We'll see who all is available. Don't want to overreact too much until we know for sure exactly who's going to be playing and who's not. Make sure you go to allclemsontigers.com for injury updates. Still day-to-day on Will Shipley, the running back, took a hard hit in the loss to NC State last Saturday, and he was in concussion protocol. And for those of you who don't know, concussion protocol, completely out of the coach's hands. It's one of those things doctors have to clear Shipley to be available to play tomorrow. And right now we don't know. We have no idea what his status is going to be. I wouldn't be shocked, Zach, if he's out for tomorrow. In fact, it probably is trending in that direction.
Yeah, I think, Shipley is out tomorrow. We have heard, let's see. We have heard reports of offensive linemen out. And so this is really just not the best situation if you're looking to pull off an upset.
I'll tell you another guy that could be out, was out against NC State. We'll see if he's available tomorrow. Peter Woods. They really need the freshman defensive tackle. Notre Dame obviously is going to put a premium on physicality in this game, and Clemson needs all the bodies they can get to help clog up the middle. And I think he's been one of the bright spots this season. I think Woods has been phenomenal. We don't talk about defensive tackles as much, necessarily don't get, rack up the gaudy stats, but I think he's going to have a huge impact if he can go tomorrow. And I really think they're going to need him. Jason, is there an injury that you are most concerned about and could affect the Tigers tomorrow?
I'm sure one of y'all already mentioned the offensive line and the injuries there, and not having Marcus Tate. But to me, that would be the biggest one, not having Tate available tomorrow. You're talking again, offensive line that has struggled big time, and now you're going to be down another starter. And we know Colin Sadler's not 100%. He'll probably play, but he's not 100%. I could see that offensive line struggling mightily tomorrow.
Not the game you want to do that in. I can tell you that right now. In fact, we'll get into that as we break down the offense and the defense, both sides, and the matchups in this game. I want to remind you, go to allclemsontigers.com. Not only will we have weekend updates and everything you need to know about this game heading into it, but also the Death Valley domain for $4.99 a month. You can get an inside look at the Tigers. It's our membership-only section of allclemsontigers.com. Go sign up today. Several payment options, $4.99 a month. That's all. And you get a lot of the recruiting news that Jason has. You get some of the in-depth analysis, columns, and whatnot from myself and Zach. So please go to allclemsontigers.com and check that Death Valley domain out today. All right, let's get to Coach Swinney, who had a lot to say about his team this week. As you can imagine, I think that press conference on Tuesday went over an hour.
Yeah.
I think it's the first one in a long time I can remember going that long. But he feels like he's identified what he says the biggest problem with this team.
And it's Jason.
No.
Last in the nation in fumbles. Number 2, we're last in the nation in fumbles. And number 3, we're last in the nation in fumbles. It's all about the ball. And yet we got a double overtime loss, an overtime loss, and then, all right, I'll give you number 4. Because of where we've had the missed plays, we're last or near last in red zone scoring. And so there you go, right there. I mean, you can just leave everything else the way it is, normal football stuff. You've got some injuries. You got some guys that maybe not play quite as much as you want. You missed a few plays, kind of normal football stuff. But let's just start right there. You're not going to win football games when you turn the ball over at least twice a game. You're not. And we've been in position to, somehow, some way, we've still had a chance to win. Then that's a credit to the character and the heart and the will to win of our guys. I'm proud of that. I'm proud of that, but that's it. I mean, I think we're 4th in the country in red zone opportunities in getting there, and we're last or near the bottom in actually scoring. So that's been a problem. And, everybody wants some big, miraculous answer, but you're not going to win when you turn the ball over the way we have. And it's been freaky. It's been some crazy stuff that's happened, but that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So 1, 2, and 3 is we lead the nation in fumbles. And if we don't lead the nation in fumbles, we're 8-0. That's just the way it is. And we're having a different conversation today on Halloween. All right, we're getting treats, and today we're getting tricks. That's what we've earned.
Hey, Dabo, it's Pete at AP. A couple of non-Tyler related questions.
Definitely an issue all season long. In fact, I looked this up today. Not only is Clemson last in fumbles, Notre Dame coming into this game +9 in turnover margin, 18 takeaways, only 9 giveaways. Jason, what do you make of what Coach Swinney had to say and how important that aspect of the game has become?
It's very important. We've seen it play out all season long. This team has just continued to put the ball on the ground, and a lot of times when they do, it goes back the other way, and it's just been backbreaking, just momentum, game-changing plays. You can't keep continuing to do that, but that's who this team is. They've already shown us that. That's who they are. And if they go out and do the same thing tomorrow and give Sam Hartman, a bunch of extra possessions, I think it get ugly. If they do not protect the football tomorrow, something they've not been able to do, so I'm not sure why any of us are thinking they will, but if they can't do it tomorrow, that thing could get ugly, and it could get ugly quick.
Zach, the 3 areas that I go back and look at every week when a team plays, their red zone offense, turnover margin, and did they create more explosives than they allowed? Well, Clemson's failing in at least 2 of 3 almost every single game. I mean, that's the reason that they're 4-4 right now. They're not winning in the red zone, and they're not winning the turnover margin. Coach, when you talk about the red zone there, I mean, this is, to me, that's systematic failure somewhere. If it happens 1 game, 2 games, you just chalk it up to luck. How do you chalk this up to just pure bad luck?
Honestly, I don't think that you can.
Yeah.
I mean, Dabo has said that the turnovers this year are completely different than any other year. Instead of a pass getting tipped and falling to the ground, now it's getting tipped and a return for a pick six. I mean, the turnovers this year have just been catastrophic. And so, to try to nail down, the issues, I don't think that is something that can be done this year. I think it is going to, again, take addressing in the offseason, whether it is coaching or what. I mean, this is almost like, it feels almost like Clemson shooting free throws, in the Oliver Herrera, I mean, that is all I can liken it to. It's contagious, and it's not going to allow you to win close games.
Critical mistakes at critical times. Clemson 100th in the country in touchdown percentage in the red zone. So the scoring issues.
So their ranking there is about like your golf score.
Hey, I break 100 on a regular basis, sir. In fact, you want to give me the strokes, I'll always put a little money on the line. I break 100. I will take that bet. All right, before we get into more of the show, I want to remind folks who are here today, we've got plenty of gear. Come help yourselves. We've got T-shirts over here, hats over here. It is first come, first serve. Take anything you'd like.
It is all free.
It's all free. Come help yourselves. All right, gentlemen, let's move over to just recapping the past month. We're in November now. October was certainly one of the worst months of the Dabo Swinney era. Is that fair to say?
I think it's fair to say.
Jason, to you, what was the most surprising thing about the month of October and just kind of how the season's gotten away from the Tigers?
Again, I'm gonna go back to that offensive line. I still cannot hardly wrap my head around how bad this thing's gotten for Clemson up front. Just how quickly it's gone off the rails. It's been maddening to watch. I mean, it's hard to even come up with an explanation for it. This is a team that, we heard the coaches talk about the dirt raid and Dabo Swinney talking about having 2,000-yard backs, and these guys, you cannot run the ball at all, not one iota. You can't pick up a yard. I mean, it's hard to fathom. You've got two talented running backs like Will Shipley and Phil Maffa, and you cannot get anything going for those guys in the running game. That has been by far the biggest surprise for me.
Do you think it's systematic? Is it these guys just can't block this scheme? What do you think the reasons for, or did they just overrate these offensive linemen? What's the answer?
It might be, a little bit of all of it. I see that in this offense, they like to pull a lot in that running game with those offensive linemen. And when those guys get out and pull, they just look slow. Maybe the offensive linemen Clemson were recruiting aren't the best fits for what Garrett Riley wants to do on offense. I think that's a fair question to ask. But I think maybe some of them maybe were overrated. There have been a few highly touted guys coming out of high school that have been in that program for a while now, and we've still rarely ever seen them, if at all. So maybe there were some misevaluations. Granted, offensive linemen are the hardest to evaluate. You're going to miss on a bunch of them, but it's hard to imagine that you missed on all of them. It's got to be something deeper.
Zach, if I were to tell you that in 3 October games, Clemson would score 17 points in regulation in all 3 of those, what would your response have been? Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, that's what you would have called it for sure. But that's the case. I mean, that's just the facts right now. They did get to 20 against Miami because they kicked the field goal in overtime, but 17 against Wake Forest, 17 regulation against the Canes, and then 17 last week in the loss to NC State. That, to me, is the biggest surprise, that this offense, which was showing momentum, especially coming out of Florida State and Syracuse, turned around and went the other way. Now, it's offensive line, as Jason talked about. It's inconsistencies in Cade Klubnik's play at quarterback. It's not holding on to the football. It's red zone issues. It's all these things have compounded. If it was just simply one thing, I think it'd be fixed by now. But that to me is most surprising. This offense went the other way, guys. Not the way it was trending at the end of September. It turned back around and went backward. And I think that was shocking to me.
Everyone last season, on to Tulane, Streeter and DJ. And I think that the issues run significantly deeper than those two guys. I mean, you're seeing now Garrett Riley, the Rose Award winner for the top assistant in the nation, can't fix this offense. That tells me there are systematic issues or coaching issues or something deeper that needs to get addressed.
Yeah, there's a lot to be surprised about at this point. Jason, are there any players that stood out to you as maybe a positive or negative in the month of October?
Yeah, he's going to go ahead and say Tyler
Nope.
TJ Parker.
Nope.
Those have been his go-tos all year.
His
I know.
little kids that he likes to claim.
In October, I'm going with Brenningstool. I'm going with Jake Brenningstool because I rode Brenningstool hard the first few weeks, so I need to give him a little praise here. He's kind of turned this thing around over the past couple games and started looking like the player Clemson recruited him to be, a guy that can stretch the field and be that big target. You know, we heard Garrett Riley the last time we heard from him talk about Brenningstool and mention how he, if you're big, you need to play big. And I think Brenningstool's been doing that the past couple of weeks after having let's just call it a not so stellar start.
Okay. Yeah, he has come on as of late. But I don't know that you want necessarily your tight end to be your focal point of your passing game. You want to be a nice accessory to your outfit. Maybe the gold chain on the sharp looking suit on draft night. You don't want him to be the entire suit. And I think that's right now. That's kind of what Brenningstool has been at least the last few weeks for an offense that's really struggling to create and find some big plays. All right, gentlemen, let's move on now to breaking down this game. Clemson's offense versus Notre Dame's defense. We'll start with that one. Jason, I'll start with you. Can Clemson protect Cade Klubnik enough in this game? We know that Notre Dame likes to get after it. They destroyed Pitt last week because their front seven just allowed almost nothing in terms of being able to pass and time and whatnot. We've seen that a couple of times this year, suffocating defensive front at times. Can Clemson handle that with this offensive line? What can Cade Klubnik do? What can the coaches do to help that?
Maybe they can. I don't know what they can do, to be quite honest. Maybe they can try rolling that pocket some and get him in some more design runs because I don't think he's ran as much as I thought he would. Maybe that's got to do with him not being 200, 205 pounds, and they're trying to protect him or whatever. But there's some things you could do with getting him rolling out and trying to roll the pocket or move the pocket and letting him throw on the move. Not sure that's his biggest strong suit, but there are a couple of things you can try to do. Maybe get Tyler Brown involved in some jet sweeps if he plays, or Stellato or somebody like that, just to try to slow that pass rush down. But on the surface, this looks like a matchup that Notre Dame absolutely has the advantage in. But with these injuries, maybe we're going to see some guys we haven't got to see a whole lot of yet. Guys like Dietrich Pennington, who this staff talked up a whole lot when he was first signed. I know he got hurt and put on the weight, but man, they talked Pennington up when he first signed. And I remember hearing great things about him when he came out of high school, but we've not really seen him. Just using him as an example. Maybe we see a couple of guys we haven't seen a whole lot of yet, and they perform better than what we are expecting. We'll see.
I found an interesting trend with Notre Dame. The games that they either struggled or lost. We're talking about Ohio State, Duke, that they sort of flip-flop, right? They probably should have won Ohio State. They probably should have lost the Duke game. They ended up, splitting those two. And then Louisville, who they lost to, there was a common theme, gentlemen, when I went back and looked at those games. They gave up 4.7 yards per rush against Ohio State, 4.7 yards per rush against Duke, and 4.6 against Louisville. If Clemson rushes for 4.5 yards or more in this game, they probably win it, or they're at least in it till the very end. Can they do that is my question, Zach.
No.
No, there's no evidence. None.
Yeah, Will Shipley has been this close how many times this season? Yeah, Jason knows what this means.
No comment, brother.
Yeah, he gets up, and says, I was this close. If I had only ran into the ass of my own line, I would have, rusted. If he is out and Phil Maffa is your star, honestly, then you're looking at, Donnie Thomas getting significant time. I just don't see how not even addressing the offensive line. This is just talking about the guys that will carry the offense.
This is a Clemson offense through the last 3 games, this October stretch that we just talked about, 1.4 yards per carry from this dirt raid, from this supposed to be the strength of the entire team. That's what we that's not just what we heard from coaches. We believed that. We all thought that the running game was going to be the strength of this team. 1.4 yards per carry in the last 3 games. That cannot continue if the Tigers are going to have any chance at all, any shot at all of winning this game. But if they get to that magic number at 4.6, 4.7, I think they win the game. The question is, how in the world do they do that? Because Phil Moffa's probably going to be by himself on that one. We'll see who else gets carries, but it's going to be very difficult for, I think, this Clemson offense to create that in this game. Jason, give me an X factor on offense, maybe somebody we haven't talked about who needs to have a big game for the Tigers to have a chance tomorrow.
I'm going to go with Troy Stellato.
Good answer.
Clemson needs, we're talking about the running game, but they need to hit some explosive plays down the field. And, since he's been back, I've been expecting to see him target him down the field some, and they've just not done it. Most of it's been underneath and short stuff. And, he's a guy that's got some burst and some explosiveness. And I think, they need to start taking advantage of that. And if they can get him and take some shots and find him down the field, that would go a long ways towards helping open some things up for this running game. They're struggling so mightily.
Absolutely. Zach, you got an X factor tomorrow on offense?
Yeah, give me Collins. He is a guy that so far this season hasn't lived up to the hype. He is only a little more productive than Adam Randall. And so I think, he has to have a huge game. He can be that 50-50 guy that can go up and make these plays. But I think, it's got to, start with Collins.
I like Jason's answer of Stellato. I think Clemson's got me. If anybody in this receiving core I would start drawing up ball plays for specifically, it's him. And then I just don't know, man, about Collins. It's not been – he's just too up and down. He's just been too streaky. That drop last week against NC State, that's the kind of play that you feel like stays with you, and it's hard to shake off.
Jason took mine. Who the hell are you going to say? Ham Green?
Hold on. Hold that thought. We'll get to him.
Come on. Jason took the only good player on offense right now. And so, screw you, Jason.
Let me
I don't want. I could have just said Tyler Brown again, but I don't know that he's going to play.
We don't know if he's going to play. Let me go super deep. This is maybe more of like a nuclear option if things go horribly wrong on the offensive line, but just keep this name in mind, Ryan Linthicum, because if they have to, I could see Clemson moving Will Putnam to guard, because if they're down 2 guards in this game, then you might just have to move your best offensive lineman who's left to another position. I would move potentially Will Putnam over to right or left guard. Problem is you got to fill both of those and play Ryan Linthicum at center. I don't rule out that option. That may be something they have to do. Everything's on the table right now with that O-line. You agree, Jason? everything.
Absolutely. And I think that is a very excellent point about, seeing Lent come in and moving Putnam back to guard. He's very experienced there, spent the first few years of his career there. So he's kind of a veteran in that spot. And, fans have been waiting a long time to get a look at Linthicum, so they'll be happy to see him.
My only reservation about that idea is this is already a team that Dabo Swinney told us is last in the nation in fumbles. And you're going to put a center who hasn't played all year in there? Yeah. Okay. Moving on, gentlemen. I want to remind folks who are here, we got some free swag over here. Help yourself to the T-shirts and the hats. And please go check out allclemsontigers.com this weekend. We'll have live updates getting you ready for tomorrow from Memorial Stadium. We'll get the injury report out for you tomorrow. It's going to be an important one. Go to allclemsontigers.com in the morning. I'd say around 10:30-ish we'll have that out. Yeah. Somewhere around in there, usually about an hour and a half before kickoff. If you want to time it just right, go to allclemsontigers.com tomorrow morning. For all the injuries we've gone over, we'll know for sure who's suiting up and who is not. All right, Clemson defense, Notre Dame offense. Jason, I'll go back to you here. Sam Hartman, a guy that Clemson knows very well from his time at Wake Forest. He knows Clemson very well. Does familiarity play a role in this? Does anybody have an advantage? Does this help or hurt Clemson to be facing Sam Hartman tomorrow with a different team in Notre Dame?
I don't know how much it helps. I mean, maybe a little bit, but, this is an entirely different offense that he's playing in now up there in South Bend. You don't have that slow developing mesh play and those kinds of things that Wake Forest likes to run. You know what Notre Dame's going to do. I mean, he's an experienced, savvy guy. He's got all those intangibles, but I don't know how much it really helps you, or I don't know that it hurts you either. You know what you're going to get in him. It's not like it's the same offense you've seen him in so many times over the years. This is something different.
I tell you what might hurt, Zach. Sam Hartman comes into Death Valley tomorrow hungry, looking for a win. He never beat Clemson when he was at Wake Forest. He gets another opportunity here, and it will be on the road Memorial Stadium with his team as the favorite. Is that a factor? You get a Sam Hartman who's fired up.
No, because if you can't get fired up for this game, then something is wrong with you. I mean, I lean toward, Hartman, the knowledge, and familiarity between these two teams meaning absolutely nothing. Because look, the fact is, these Tigers are just as hungry as Hartman. I mean, you're talking about.
But they're not as good. They're not nearly as good.
Now, I will say this. Hartman's best receiver in his tight end is out.
Yes.
Also, they don't have the frisbee catching dogs on the outside that they had last year.
Oh, no, his receiving core is not near as good as it was at Wake Forest. It's crazy to say.
Yeah. And, his tight end is out, which means they're going to rely heavily on his stomach. So I think, I just don't.
So you're not worried about Hartman at all in this game?
No.
You don't think he can beat Clemson?
He's a little, look. He had his shot last year, and he couldn't get it done.
Tip pass at the line of scrimmage there by Brian Brzee. Yeah, we'll see. I'll say this. Audric Estime is the biggest problem. But the play action that Notre Dame can run out of using Estime the way that they use him is the scary part. Jason, this is an offense that pummeled the Tigers last year. I don't know of a better word to use. Embarrassed them, challenged them physically, challenged their manhood, all of that. They took it right at them last year. You look back at that game, you use it to take a look at this game. A problem is that going to be how scary is that for Clemson going into this one?
I think embarrassed is a very good word to describe what happened to Clemson up there last year, that defense in particular. But, looking back on that game, the hope is you would think that what happened up there last year would be, a motivating factor. They do not want to get run over like that again. They don't want to get dominated up front and out physical and all that stuff. And I think this Clemson defense is good enough to kind of contain that Notre Dame running game. I don't think they were nearly as bad as they looked up there in South Bend last year, and I think this defense is better than what it was last year. We'll see. Some of that might depend on how much help they get from the offense, but this is going to be a big challenge, make no mistake. It's one of the matchups I'm looking forward to watching tomorrow.
I don't know if there's a team that really compares to Clemson in terms of who Notre Dame has already played. I mean, North Carolina State's a pretty good defense. They did hold them to under 5 yards per carry as a team. They held Notre Dame to 170 yards on 37 carries. Not a lot. They've gone over 200 only twice this year. Pitt held them to 155 yards as well last week. But Clemson's been very good against the run. Thing is, Estime has just been so doggone good. He's averaging 100 yards per game. If he gets to that mark in this one, he will eclipse 1,000 rushing yards this season. And he's averaging over 6 yards per carry and 12 touchdowns on the ground. So he's certainly a big load the Tigers are going to have to trust. Now, they don't have the same running game they had last year. They don't have, they lost some of the guys from last year. It's a little bit different. The other guys are more of complementary backs. They're not guys who can really step in and take over games. It really is about Estime, and this offense kind of goes as far as he really does. There are some limitations to Notre Dame's offense, guys. I'm not going to disagree with you. This isn't some high-powered, unbelievable attack, but NC State came into last week hurting offensively and on a backup quarterback. Miami was on a backup quarterback, and both of those teams beat Clemson, so nothing is a given right now for the Tigers this season. All right, I'm going to remind you to go to our YouTube channel. If you're watching us here today, make sure you watch us too on Monday nights. It's Monday Live with Jason Priester. Jason, for those who don't know, what all do you do on Monday Live? Why has it become so popular? That's what everybody wants to know.
Sucks.
They come for the looks, isn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's all about me and getting to see me. But no, on a serious note, we kind of like to let the fan dictate the conversation. That we go where the fan wants to go, and I try to be as open as honest as I can, and I try to take as many questions as I can, and I think people are starting to appreciate that. And we have a good time. That first and foremost, that's probably the biggest thing. We generally have a good time on Mondays. If you've not seen it yet, come on out and join us every Monday, 7 p.m.
I got a feeling you're going to be asked some recruiting questions this week. Clemson's got a couple commits this week. What can you tell us about them?
They get picked up 2020 a commitment from 2025 offensive lineman Easton Ware on Wednesday. Teammate of Gideon Davidson. He's from Lynchburg Christian up there in Lynchburg, Virginia. This is one of those guys who, as soon as Clemson started recruiting him, he just felt like that guy that was the right fit, that culture fit, just fits right in. Haven't watched a ton of his tape, but he's a guy that looks like he's got some nastiness in him, and that's something I think Clemson's missing on that offensive line. Kind of got caught with my pants down today. I was not expecting that commitment today on a Friday during school.
TMI.
Yeah, I was going to say, kids.
Really admit he caught me a little off guard. He caught me a little off guard. I was not prepared for it. That doesn't happen very often anymore these days, but
thank God.
We're talking about a top 250 guy, probably one of the better tight end prospects in the next class. His daddy was a big-time player in the NFL, attended Georgia Tech, but that tight end room is going to be stout over the next few years with if you got a upperclassman, Brennan Stool, if he's still here then, and Christian Bettenker, and now Logan Brooking, man, that would be one deep group of tight ends if they eventually have all three of them on campus at the same time.
All right, gentlemen, real quickly, I will say this. We don't know the status of Will Shipley, whether he plays or not right now. If he doesn't, one special teams thing to keep an eye on is who's returning punts. That goes back to your boy you mentioned earlier.
Yes, it does.
Because if Tyler Brown is out as well, there's only one guy left to return punts, Zach. Who is that masked man? Who is he? Who's the hero?
That is Ham Green.
Ham Green.
Daniel High School son.
Listen to us getting the metrics up on Ham Green. Just keep saying his name over and over.
That's right.
Drive up those Ham Green metrics. Let's go.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, let's get to some of the ACC's most intriguing games this week, as we do each and every show. To me, the game of the week in this league is Virginia Tech and Louisville, both very much in the hunt in the ACC standings to try to get that, what we believe to be that second spot, because I think Florida State's going to roll the rest of the regular season. But let me get your thoughts on that, Jason. Virginia Tech, Louisville, how big of a game is that one to you, and who do you like in this one?
Yeah, that is a big game. It's particularly for Louisville. You know, they've got ACC championship aspirations. They're going to get Virginia Tech at home, and this is probably a fairly solid Virginia Tech team. I haven't got to watch them a ton this year, but that Louisville team, man, they are a lot better than I thought they would be.
Yeah.
Under first-year head coach Jeff Brom, he has gotten them there in a hurry outside of that one ugly loss. I think this is going to be a good game, probably closer than the spread is about 10, right?
Yeah, 9.5, 10.
I think this is going to be a good game. Louisville needs it. They need to keep winning to keep their ACC championship hopes alive.
Drones is they're a different team with Drones at quarterback, clearly. And some of their stats, you go back and look, you still have to remove the Grant Wells era from that and take a look at what Drones been doing for Virginia Tech. Zach, you got a game you keep an eye on the ACC this week?
Yeah, I'm right there with y'all. Louisville is not only looking to solidify their second place standing, they're also on the outside of the CFP ranking.
Oh, yeah.
And so they need to continue to win games and look impressive, and then hope that they can knock off the O's in the ACC championship. It is not out of the realm of possibility for Louisville to be sniffing the CFP.
I'll tell you what game I'm going to flip over to after Clemson and Notre Dame are done. I'm going to catch the second half of Georgia Tech and Virginia on the CW. This game could be interesting here. The CW games, the underdog, I believe, has won outright in every single one of them this year. So the curse of the CW doesn't get Georgia Tech this week. Georgia Tech's actually the underdog this week, so maybe it's Virginia who should get got in this one. I do want to see a little bit of Georgia Tech because they do play Clemson next week. All right, Jim, let's go over to the national scene. Some big games. We got a lot in the Big 12. We also got a huge one in the SEC, two big ones in the SEC. I think the SEC East can be decided tomorrow, and I think the SEC West could be decided tomorrow if Alabama beats LSU. What games you keeping an eye on nationally?
Ohio State and Rutgers.
No, you're not. That's fake. There's no way you care about that one. Zach's done with this conversation there. What about you, Jason? Who do you like this week?
I always get intrigued by LSU and Alabama, no matter what the records are. That's just one of those games that tends to be good no matter what. I'm with you. I think the West is going to be decided tomorrow. I'm interested to see which Alabama team we get. They've kind of been a little up and down at times this year. Been playing better of late, though.
Yeah, honestly, seriously, I say Missouri and Georgia. This is not the same Georgia team.
It's a 15-point spread
From the last 2 years.
Georgia's going to whoop them. It's a 15-point spread.
I called it here.
Oh, you got Missouri outright?
Yeah.
Ooh, you heard it here first. Zach Lynn picking Missouri to upset Georgia.
Is right.
Wow, we'll see about that. The game that I'm interested in, there's a lot of them, but one of them, Bedlam. This is Oklahoma State, and the last time for who knows how long between these two rivals. And Oklahoma has dominated this series at Oklahoma State. I think that might change tomorrow. Brent Venables' team looks shaky for the last 2 weeks. They did get got by Kansas last week, and I'm not going to be shocked if Oklahoma State, who's playing very well and right there in the hunt for the Big 12 title run, if they don't beat Oklahoma tomorrow, I would not be shocked to see that at all. You agree with that one, Jason? You like that pick?
I do. I think you're on to something there. You're right. Brent Venables' Oklahoma team has not looked overly impressive the past 2 weeks. And they just haven't. I could absolutely see them getting beat tomorrow.
All right, we're going to wrap up the show as we always do with Are We Smarter Than Zach? You know, we're going to have to be searching to find some disagreements here today, fellas. I have a feeling because of the way Clemson season has gone, we may not be on the other side of many of my questions today. I'll ask you this, Jason. Is Clemson going to cover? We'll go 3.5 instead of the 3 because I've seen it move over to 3.5 in some places. 3.5 point spread. Do we like Clemson in this one or Notre Dame?
Yeah, I'm going Clemson here, man. I don't know what it is. I just got this feeling. I don't know what it is. And if you told me 5 days ago, I wouldn't have believed it, but I just have this feeling that something's going to happen tomorrow that is unexpected.
I need to know what that feeling is because I don't have it. I'm leaning towards Notre Dame in this one. That offensive line for Clemson worries me. Every stat I've given out today really points into the direction of Notre Dame. So I'm going with the Irish in this one. Zach, am I smarter than you?
Nah.
Wait. You're going to Clemson?
Yeah.
With that offensive line?
Look, I am glutton for punishment.
Yes, you are.
Or have a sadistic streak.
You picked NC State, or you picked Clemson to beat NC State last week too, didn't you?
Yeah.
So did I.
I think that you get sweatshirt wearing, fire rating, hyped up, down, and they take down the Irish. All right.
I think me and Zach are the only 2 people around picking Clemson tomorrow.
I'm just trying to figure out how.
It's easy. You type it on your computer. You put the scoring. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to put a scoring.
I'm trying to figure out how Clemson does it. I just don't know. This isn't golf where you can pencil whip me over there and make up the scores as you go along. This thing counts on the scoreboard at Death Valley tomorrow.
Did you just say how a pencil whipping?
I said pencil whipping.
Oh.
All right, Jason, over under 44.5 points. That's a low total for these 2 teams. I think it goes under. You?
Yeah, give me under.
Yeah, I think this game's played in the very low 40s, if not high 30s. Zach?
I think I picked 24-20. That'd be right under.
Are we right?
Let's see here. No, you aren't. You're both stupid.
you got this thing as a shootout, don't you?
Yeah, 31-21.
Clemson scored 31 points. I don't know if they scored that in the whole month of October.
Look,
I have Clemson scoring the same amount they've
right.
scored in the last 3 games in regulation.
Look,
17 points.
you are Tyler. You have been out as Tyler from Smyrna.
No, that is incorrect. Nope, that is incorrect.
Yeah, yes, it is.
No, I'm just a realist, and I'm giving out every stat that I can today, and all of them go against Clemson right now. All right, Jason, what do we think about Cade Klubnik over under 225.5 passing yards? He's going to have to get way over that probably for them to have a chance to win.
I'm going over. I think he gets over. Not much, but a little bit.
Yeah, okay. I'll say he goes over that a little bit because I think Clemson's going to have to be throwing a lot. Do you?
Hell yeah.
More about volume, right? He's going to get there because of the volume and times he has to throw. Yeah.
Saw him throw it 50 times last week.
All right, I'm in on that one. Who leads the Tigers? Oh, wait, are we right or wrong on that one?
Yeah, y'all are both okay.
Okay. Who leads the Tigers in rushing, Maffa or the field for the Tigers, meaning the rest of the depth chart? Who would you take in that one, Jason? We going Maffa or the rest of the running back room?
I'm going Maffa. I think he's going to get, by far the bulk of the carries tomorrow.
Can he do what he needs to do with those carries?
That's the big question.
Yeah,
a lot of fans have been wanting to see Maffa be the primary ball carrier, and they're going to get to see it tomorrow.
Yeah, he can fall.
Man, that's wrong.
He's going to need to be better about making something out of nothing than he has been.
Yeah. All right. Who is going to be Clemson's leading receiver? Let's go Stellato. Come on. Me and you both like Stellato this week.
Yep.
We're going Stellato, Zach. Are we right or wrong?
Sure. I don't really
He doesn't care.
I am so over this that.
All right. Fair enough there. Does Clemson's defense force 1.5 turnovers, under or over 1.5 turnovers in this game for the Clemson defense?
I'm going over. That's how they win.
Okay. All right. Sure. Why not? I'll I'll go over with you. I don't think it's going to matter because the next one's going to matter. Zach, are we right on that one? Over under?
Yeah.
We're over on the turnovers
Yeah,
force.
let's go over.
I think they pick off Hartman once. And I think they create a special teams turnover or something like that. All right, number of Clemson turnovers, 2.5. Jason, 2.5 set for the Tigers. And can't go 1.5. You got to go 2.5. 1.5's too easy. That's going to be like minus 220. We got to go 2.5 minus 110. Who do you like in this one? Over under?
Under.
Oh.
2.
You're going under 2. Does Clemson win the turnover battle to you? Sounds like
That's the only way they win. That's the only way they win. They got to win.
The only way they win.
I pick them to win.
I say over. Zach, am I right?
Yes, you are.
Yes.
I say, hell, they could turn over 4 times in the first half.
Oh, man. How many goal line
It'll be hard
opportunities?
for them to get 31 points if they do that.
Yeah, that's a really good point there by Jason.
Hey.
I'm not sure they can. No, I thought you were going to respond to that.
Then sometimes you're stupid. Just has to be left alone.
All right, can the Tigers hold Aldrich Estime, the Notre Dame running back, under his 100 yards per game average? Jason, what do you think?
I think this one's going to be close, but I'm going to say no. I think he's going to have a little bit over 100.
I agree with you there. I say he goes over the 100. Zach, are we right or wrong?
Just because I hate you guys, I'll say no. The Tiger defense shows up and they stuff him.
All right. That's going to wrap things up here for the All Clemson Tigers Notre Dame preview show. Make sure you go to allclemsontigers.com where we'll have everything post-game, pre-game, in-game. We got it all for you coming up on Saturday, so make sure you check that in on Sunday. Some of the rehash, what we learned from this game, we'll have all that up at allclemsontigers.com. And Jason will be live on Monday with Monday Live. Make sure you check that out. Make sure you follow us on all our social media accounts on X, on Facebook, Instagram, and then right here on YouTube. Make sure you're always coming back for more content. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. For Zach, for Jason, I'm Brad. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the game tomorrow, everybody. Take care.
Yeah.